Hey guys, Sean, Leslie Live for Dummies. I really want to do some shooting videos today. I was expecting my larger nylon balls to arrive for my Berna LE before I open it up and see why it doesn't shoot full power every shot, but that will be for obviously another day. So in lieu of my Yong Heng compressor, it's going on about 1.5 years old. And it's long overdue for an oil change. Yong recommends every 50 hours. I don't think there's 50 hours on my compressor, even with all the tanks that I pump. A 13 CI tank on this thing takes 45 seconds flat. So imagine how many minutes are in 50 hours, essentially. I'm not gonna do the math for you guys. You're smarter than I am. Remember, I'm a dummy. But it's a lot of minutes. That's a lot of 13 CI tanks. And I do work during the day, so it may look like I'm pumping these things like 24/7, but that's not the case. So I think it's been under 50 hours, but it has been over a year, and the best I can find is people recommend you change oil every 6 months, regardless of use. And I think that's more related to the automotive side of engines. You know, it's sort of something that people have always sworn by, even if, you know, you got a car sitting in your driveway and you don't drive it, and you should at least change the fluids, the oil every 6 months. But I'm gonna treat it like a car, and I'm gonna change the oil. I'm gonna swap the coolant out, although it does get changed on a regular basis, and I do keep an eye on the oil level. There's a little sight glass right here. But I'm gonna show you how I change oil by the seat of my pants. All right, guys, so preemptively, I have chosen some tools that I'm gonna need to change the oil in my compressor. So, measuring cup. If I remember, this thing said it took 1/2 liter, which would be, for us Canadians, that would be 500 milliliters. But there is a line in the window here where you can actually fill to. So we'll keep an eye on that as we're filling. I need a funnel that is small enough to fit into the breather hole, also known as the fill hole. I brought out some new filters for the air dryer and your trusty 10mm socket, if you can find it. That's a mechanic's joke. That is used to remove the drain plug. And of course you need a marker. No, but if I get time, I wanted to shoot off my TIPX at the very least. Whoop, egg release. All right, so I said much like a car is how I'm gonna treat this. So I'm gonna let it run for 30 seconds with the bleed valves open, just to kind of warm up the fluid and hopefully make it a little more viscous so it can drain out easier. And then I'll give it a little bit of time, maybe 5 minutes, to fully drain. Obviously you won't have to watch that, and then we'll go through the rest of the process. So there we go. Help if I had it turned on. Probably sufficient. Don't do what I just did. I should have had the water pump running, but that's okay. Little extra heat in there, I guess. So I'm gonna do something here. Now, I'm kind of have my pump up on a workbench, obviously. So I'm gonna just pull it forward and let it hang on an angle. I'm hoping that'll make it easier to drain the oil out of here, and it should also make for less mess because I'm able to kind of undercut the cup right here. I should have moved that down. There we go. That's better. Sorry guys. So let's do this. By the way, that short run that I just did without the pump, and it wasn't even under load, not gonna cause any harm. Probably should have some rags handy too, just in case here, but we're going for it. Okay, and much like a car, I gotta undo the oil filter. In this case, it's the air breather. Should speed up the release, of that air oil. Then this is also going to be your fill plug, so you can remove it completely. Just set it aside. I'm going to lower this down. See, this worked out perfect now. It's a hands-free operation. And it might be difficult to see. I use Royal Purple synthetic reciprocating air compressor oil. I should have showed you that in the beginning, which is also something you're gonna need to refill it, obviously. I just bought this off of Amazon. This is something that is recommended by the Yong Heng Facebook group. I can't say any different. It's purple, wouldn't you know it? And even after all the time on this pump, this is purple. It looks like I could eat this stuff. It still looks really nice. It looks black in the window, but it is definitely still purple. Let's see if we can get a... Hopefully you guys can see that. Oh, getting my hands in there. While we're waiting for that to drain, I'm gonna go get some paper towels. All right, we are back. Elapsed time, about 5 minutes, and we're down to a drip. So at this point now, I'm gonna reinstall the drain plug. So I'm just gonna wipe it off here. Now when you tighten this guy down, just snug is good enough. I wouldn't even actually probably use a ratchet. In this case, I'm going to, but you could probably just use a nut driver. Snug it up. Golden. At this point, just give your pump a wipe off. You notice if you have one of these, you know, when you're purging these prior to pumping a tank, you'll find there's a little bit of oil that sprays out the sides and kind of runs down in this channel here. So usually on a regular basis, I do wipe it out, but let's see, there's just a little bit in there. This side, not so much. Most of your moisture and air comes out of this valve here. The next step is, if you use your measuring container to fill or to drain your Yong Heng, that you need to dispose of this oil in an appropriate manner. And in my case, I was smart and bought 2 of them some time ago, because the wife would kill me if I was putting oil in her glass bakingware. So let me look at this here for you guys. It would appear about 275 mils. I know you won't be able to detect it, but it'd be hard for me to show you anyways. There's about 275 mils remaining in there. Now, if I follow the directions when I put this together, I should have put 500 mils in. So I probably should have maybe checked the change oil sooner, but I detected no problems, but it is time to refill. You need an appropriate size funnel to fit in this porthole here. So in this case, the funnel I have, it ain't gonna go. So I got this rubber doohickey here, just some silicone hose I had laying around with another little doohickey in the end, just some threaded fitting I had in a box. And I'm gonna use this to fill her up like that. This particular bottle, I thought it had a measuring thing on the side, but it doesn't. But it does have a nice little fill nipple there. You know what? Screw the measuring cup. It's my way or the highway. I'm gonna use the nipple on the bottle. And we're gonna move this pump back up to a level surface and I'll show you. So that red dot in the middle there, it should just be covered. So just the top portion should be covered, no more. And it should never be below the red dot. So this red dot should never be 100% visible. That's Heng's recommendation as far as I remember. Well, here it is right here. Oh. That's where I get my information from the fun picture times. So we are going to just squirt this thing in there. So grab your oil and scratch the funnel for now. And, sorry camera. We're just gonna let this slowly fill up here. So I'm just touching the red dot there. I'm gonna pull this bottle out for a sec. And it came up like a little bit. So we're gonna just get a little more here. Oh, she came up fast that time. Okay, so when it reached the red dot, it came up a lot faster. So now I'm not gonna give the bottle any squeezes. I'm just gonna do it by gravity. It's literally just spitting out of the end of this thing. Oh. Oh, almost there, guys. Okay. I'm gonna call that red dot is covered. Now, at this point, take your breather. Just give it a wipe off after it falls on the ground and rolls around. And I'll wipe my fill port off and thread this guy back in there. No tool required. This thing just goes in hand tight. Has an O-ring seal on the bottom. Voila, your oil is changed. And we will move on to the simplest of things. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is just change the air dryer, the little cheap filter that's inside here now. I'm a cheap SOB and I probably don't change this as much as I should, so you just unscrew it like that. Normally what I do is I alternate these and I let them air dry, so I'll pull this one out of here. That is your guy there. Ew, looks like the butt of a cigarette. Oh, gross. I actually got a little sniff off that. Yeah, so I usually rinse these out and let them air dry, and I have another one that I swap in, but I think it's time that I put a new one in. I've never seen it that gross before. Yuck. And it's as simple as it sounds. Grab a new one. They did come with your Yong Heng. It came with a bunch of replacements. I probably would recommend wiping the inside of the casing out. They look kind of dirty in there. Again, I'm just going by the seat of my pants here, guys. So I had a look in there. They look kind of greasy. So I'm just gonna jam a rag in there. Give her the old twist. And there's a little bit of crud in there, but not as much as I thought. Let's have a look down there with the flashlight and see. Yeah, a little brown tan down there, but that's what the filter's for. So, take your new one and screw it back together. Remember, this is like the most basic of service that I'm doing here. There's some other stuff I think they recommend doing, like changing the little sintered filter. There's an air filter on there, but I mean, mine's in my garage, so it doesn't really see any much dust out here. So tighten it back on there. We're just gonna set it kind of over this side because we're gonna get to the water here. I do change my water kind of on a regular basis. You can see how here, this is something I recommend you do. If you're running one of these pumps, is have the outflow raised up above your water level. That way you can visually see that you turned your pump on, like I forgot in the beginning. Now, like I said, there was no load on it, but if you pump the whole bottle like that, it probably still wouldn't cause any damage unless it was a big bottle. But a 13 CI probably would have kicked off before it did any kind of damage. You always want to run your water. So I like to keep this outflow visible. So I'm just going to take it and clip it up here for now. And I'm going to pull my pump out. And it's kind of slimy. Got to break the suction cups up the bottom. I like to stick down there. They both stayed on there. Oh. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe all the gross scuzz off of this here. And I'm going to go dump this water out. I actually usually use antifreeze in here. All right, so we're back. Got a fresh bucket of water and brought a nice clean paper towel here. And I'm just gonna wipe the hose off, wipe all the scuzz off the pump. Scuzz breeds scuzz, so the cleaner you have this, the longer the water will stay clean. Something else, when I actually run antifreeze, I noticed the water did fight that algae growth a lot better, which I guess is to be expected with some chemical additives. Make sure you get those little suckers off there, get all the fuzz out of there. All right, looks pretty clean to me, so I'm gonna stick it back in. Woo, water's cold. Suction it down to the bottom, and you'll notice I didn't put the antifreeze in first. I just put a splash in. Nothing crazy. So let me grab some here. I've even seen people say windshield washer fluid. I don't know about that, but antifreeze seems like a good idea, right? It has anti-corrosive properties, which I would think is good for the pump because it does sit out here. I don't drain my pump every time. I know I watch Mr. LLC, and it's probably a good idea. He hangs them over the edge and lets all the water drain out of the pump. I don't do that. I just leave it. I mean, it's going like 3 days out of the week anyway, so. There we go. A couple of chugs in there. Fresh bucket of piss. And really that about concludes my compressor service. I'll just reinstall my little outfall here before I forget, because gotta get a little lower there. As you saw when I hooked it up here to clean the water, last time I forgot to put it back in the bucket, and when I turned the compressor and the pump on, this shooting stream of water went right on my marker, which was sitting right here. Yeah, so just do a double check once you're done. Make sure everything's good. Last but not least, check to make sure it's leak-free, everything's hooked up properly. I would recommend, I think just based on automotive experience, that you check this maybe after the first fill, after your first bottle fill, just to confirm that the level did stay appropriate to the label that is listed here. So let's just give her a start the water pump up here somewhere. There it is. That. So there was a little bit of air that came out of there, obviously. And let's fire this bad boy up. So make sure your bleed screws are open. Check for leaks. I don't feel nothing there. And just give it a final wipe down. You know, clean your pump up. Keep it looking nice and new, fresh. All right, guys. That's all for today.